Other than the fact that I'm wearing shorts under this, I didn't get the memo that this is a dress down Tuesday.
Well, I appreciate your being here. Your reputation for wit or half that reputation preceded you. At any rate, let's get to our guest. His name is Larry Pratt. He is the executive director of Gun Owners of America, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he wasn't running around throwing confetti up and down with what's happening in Washington. Larry, how are you?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me on again. Really appreciate it, Stan.
It's always our pleasure. Gun Owners of America has done extraordinary work for the American people and to stand up for something called the Constitution. You know that Dave Weinbaum, of course, he is our co-host tonight, and luckily for you, you're on the phone, so you're not having to deal with what I'm having to deal with, but that's okay. We're happy to move forward, and of course, we're ecstatic that the House of Representatives has now scheduled a contempt vote on Eric Holder and has been joined by Senator Corwin and others in asking for his resignation.
It's beginning to become almost a bit of a bipartisan Senate when you've got Dianne Feinstein, not with them on this particular issue, but saying, hey, who's the leaker over there in the White House? It's just getting really bad for this administration. The Democrats are having a civil war. The Fast and Furious investigation finally does get the mass murder program of our government into more public attention. It's just every day is another bit of bad news for this criminal regime, and it couldn't have come at a better time, right as we're beginning to think about elections as an American people, and we realize that the same guy that's tanked the economy has sided up with the Mexican cartel, didn't pay a never mind to getting people killed in the intelligence community because, hey, we had some really cool stuff we can brag about. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. This is just so over the top, and then on top of all those legitimate issues, you have the partisanship of Bill Clinton deciding that if Hillary's going to run for president, it'll have to be in 2016, and that means running against a Republican. So we got to get rid of this guy Obama so that he doesn't control the party, and so we're seeing a civil war between the Clintonistas and the Obamanistas. It's just an amazing thing how God has confounded these people. I'm very relieved to say that seems to be what the situation is.
Dave?
Thanks for segueing into my newest column, which is, will Obama survive the attacks of the Clintonistas? And I'm wondering, Larry, well said, by the way, whether or not they're going to make their move now. I'm wondering if we're going to have an LBJ moment where you're going to have four distinguished Democrats, if there is such a thing, walking into the Oval Office and telling the president it's time that you decided not to run. I don't think he'd agree with it necessarily, but you have signals coming from especially Bill Clinton, who why Obama wants him around him is incredibly stupid, because this guy is doing nothing but damage to him. And why is Bill Clinton doing this, who is a pretty smart guy? He doesn't say anything without it being thoroughly planned and vetted. And
yes.
I think they might be going after it right now.
I think you're right. I think that's a growing possibility. I've seen some blogging to that effect, and you can make a plausible argument that just as Nixon was persuaded to take a powder and not put the party and the country through an impeachment trial, that the same proposition might be made to the president, because in the president's case, he's also facing a House controlled by the other party, the way Nixon was. And if the Republicans had a backbone, they could certainly go after Mr. Holder, because they've got him on perjury and obstruction of justice. That's kind of open and shut. And to have your attorney general on his way to jail before you even have to stand for election in November, which conceivably could happen, because if the House committee next week goes ahead and votes to find him in contempt, and then the same thing maybe, say, a week later happens in the full House, then the lawyers for the House of Representatives go to the Federal District Court in D.C. and tell the honorable judges there that Congress has taken this action, would they please try the case, which, of course, that's like they become the prosecutor, and yes, the judges will try the case. Now, their final decision, that's something that I'm not sure anybody at this point, when you don't even know who the judges might be, could predict, but we could get that far, and that would be terribly damaging. It would also be encouraging that maybe we'll actually get some justice for the over 300 people that have been murdered in complicity with a program developed by the federal government.
Now, let me ask this question, and there's all kinds of stories we'll discuss through the evening. I don't know if Larry won't be with us but half an hour, but the support for Obama is dropping among his strongest supporters. There is no support among, the white people in this country by 2-1 are against this president. The black people by 98-1 were for this president, but that's now changing. His support is dropping in the black community. His support is dropping in the Hispanic community. His support is dropping everywhere. And I think that what you're seeing, and Clinton again, and you asked the question, Dave, why would he keep Clinton around? Well, if he doesn't keep him close, he doesn't know what he'll be doing. At least this way, maybe he has something. If he's scheduled for, fundraisers with Obama, maybe that'll temper what he will say. Because if Obama throws him under the bus, Bill Clinton has a very effective ability. And if he calls a news conference, every media on the planet will show up, and Obama knows that. Would you agree with that, Larry?
I think so. This is something that, as you said, looks very well calculated, or very evilly, depending on your point of view. But the Civil War is no longer being fought behind closed doors, and Clinton has very nicely taken this thing public, and everything's going wrong for the president. The issues are just turning to toxicity on him, and the guy, I think, is so tone deaf that he figures that, well, if he says that homosexual marriage is fine, and he'll just change the opinion of about 85% or 95% of the American public. That's just how. He's done the same thing on gun control. That was what Fast and Furious was. I don't mind getting a few people killed if we can get our policy objectives accomplished. So I really don't think he's as well informed as he thinks he is. He knows a lot about socialism, but he doesn't know much about America. And what he does know, he doesn't like.
Well, that's well said. And I think that Barack Obama said prior to the 2010 elections, when they said every sitting president, every party in power loses seats in a midterm election, and he said, but there was never a party headed by someone like me before. Well, he was right. He lost more seats than anyone in the history of this country. But he really thinks, with his cocked up nose, that he is someone above and beyond. I really believe he believes that. Now, Dave, you've gotten to know him pretty well, written lovingly about his accomplishments. Would you agree?
Sure, and I want to go back to what I believe is the quote of this day, although they come up with some really good ones, as the private sector is doing really well right now. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I just got this off Breitbart that Senator Cole from Wisconsin was interviewing Eric Holder, and he was asking him lovingly if Obama wins the election, will he serve another term as Attorney General? And Holder was saying, well, you know, I'd have to consider it. I've done my best. I've had my ups and downs. And then he said, but, you know, I've stuck to my guns. What an inappropriate comment from a guy who sent guns to Mexico, one of which ended up killing our agent, Brian Terry.
And another agent down in Mexico, Jaime Zapata. So, this is these people are tone deaf. They really think that we're stupid and that they're going to convince us. Remember that when every time one of their policies meets the objection of a majority of the American people, their response is, well, they just don't understand enough about the issue yet. But we'll straighten that out. Well, like I think they're about to get straightened out.
Dave, you were saying?
I said like healthcare.
There you go.
He needs to explain it to us more. I think we need more speeches about healthcare, don't you, Stan?
You notice
we need to hear more about it. We just don't understand. We're not bright enough to understand.
Well, let me switch gears a bit, but I'm not really switching gears. The EPA under Obama is very much like the SS under Hitler, in that they think that rules are for others and they can do anything they want to do and people will enjoy it, even if it's killing them. They're now saying they want to have control over empty ditches and gullies that occasionally, in a heavy rain or a flood, have water under the concept that at that moment in time they would be navigable by, I don't know, a guy in a barrel. And it's almost, it's funny, but it's not funny, haha, because these people are dead serious. They want to control. I tweeted, and I know everyone waits for my tweets, I tweeted, if they get this through, next they're going to want to have control over butt cracks and armpits, because they have water in them occasionally.
And they don't have.
You know, I was thinking that, but I would never say that on the air. Thank you, Stan, for showing your class.
Well, I wanted you to feel comfortable since you have several of the aforementioned. But the point is, and Larry, let me go to you, that if I don't know what word other than incredulity, if I can even say that right, that you look at these people and say, you can't even make up what they believe they should be able to do.
They believe that since they won the election, they can do anything. They have no interest in informing themselves about what the Constitution requires of them. The Constitution requires them in the Congress to do about 18 different things that are listed in Article 1, Section 8, like mail and so forth. And they're doing about everything but what they're supposed to. They don't deliver the mail all that well, and the military is being messed up by the incumbent president as we speak. So they are just simply out of control, and God willing, we'll get to November soon enough so that we can control them.
Now, in Indiana, because we only have a short time, I will try and cover a few topics here. In Indiana, they are now talking about a law that was passed a while ago, and Chief Steve Davis was the one police chief in the state that promoted this bill that overrode the Supreme Court decision in the state of Indiana saying that you're not authorized, you're not allowed, you can't legally resist even illegal activity by law enforcement. And they've now passed laws saying ixnay on the Supreme Court decision. Absolutely, if someone's coming to your home illegally, it doesn't make any difference who they are, you can defend yourself.
Absolutely.
Are you familiar with that?
That's state law in Texas, and my guess is it's law in many other states. And frankly, the idea that you can't defend yourself when somebody is acting illegally as an aggressor, I just can't imagine that anybody would have a law that says, well, yeah, you just got to take the shots.
Dave, are you familiar with this situation where the Indiana Supreme Court ruled in a case that a man could not defend himself when people were illegally coming to his home because they turned out to be law enforcement?
No, I'm not familiar with it. But how does that jibe with the Supreme Court of the United States? Don't you have a right to defend yourself? A right to privacy? via the Supreme Court, via the Constitution?
What's called probable cause, but the fact is, because someone yells police, it doesn't make them police. And if they're shooting at you, you don't have time to check their identification. You know, my philosophy is it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. If you come busted into my house, I'm shooting first and checking your ID second.
That's right. Just slip that search warrant, if you got it, under the door, and if you don't, get out before I shoot you.
It's amazing. And yet we had a Supreme Court in Indiana that was, I think, majority Republican appointed, and still they came out with this insane decision.
Well, we got to support law and order, you know.
Yeah, right. I think, didn't Joseph Stalin say something like that? All right. What about, and the way it was reported, it said, Indiana first state to allow citizens to shoot law enforcement officers. Does that sound a bit prejudicial in that headline?
You might think. You can tell that these people, it's the government, right or wrong, it's the government. You just got to do what they tell you, because increasingly the government thinks the same way that the media does. And so the media, which when I was growing up was rather eager to hold Republican government, in fact, sometimes even Democrat government, accountable. But now, as long as it's our guys that are in, we're going to cover for them. Look what they've done with Fast and Furious. You can hear the crickets chirp before you hear anything about Fast and Furious with the government's program to commit mass murder. The media is doing, I would say, a very excellent job, because still, from what we can tell in polls, about 50% of the population don't know.
Let me read the first sentence here. Police officers in Indiana are upset over a new law allowing residents to use deadly force against public servants, including law enforcement officers, who illegally enter their homes. Anyone who enters your home illegally, you have a right to defend yourself.
Right. If the officers don't want to have a problem, there's this thing called a search warrant thingy, and that's all they have to do is get one of those, and then they can go at the appointed time and place and serve it.
I just, to me, we all know there are cases. There's some maniac in the process of hurting or killing someone, and the police come, and they should be able to save that person's life. Basically
a hot pursuit situation, or, as you say, precisely, where you see a crime being committed. And, of course, the hot pursuit would be you saw the crime and now they're trying to get away. So, yeah, if they have seen the crime, then that's what their job says. But then it's legal. Then it is entering legally. That's not entering illegally. But deciding that you're behind on your child support, deciding that you didn't show up for a hearing on your driver's license, and we've heard of these cases. The lady in California that looked out her window to see a SWAT team because she was behind on her student loans. Yeah, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. And at any rate, now let's talk about an example. This is a story, and there may be more to it, but what we've heard is, in Texas, a man caught a guy sexually assaulting his 4-year-old daughter. And he punched his lights out, and the guy died. And I think we should all chip in and buy some hand lotion for the guy that punched the pervert. But there's some saying, oh, no, you're supposed to only use enough for... If you start sexually molesting one of my grandkids, if you do it to one of my kids, they'll kill you. They won't need me. But if you do it to one of my grandkids, hello? Well, biblically, molestation is a capital crime. And secondly, the guy is, he's stopping a criminal. He's not a professional. He doesn't know, I'm up to the line now. All he knows is that a horrible thing has been done, and he's going to stop it. And if the criminal dies for what should have been a capital offense anyway, then I think we ought to give the guy a medal. David?
Well, apparently nobody's going to press charges, so the question is moot as to how far you should go to. Is it revenge, or is it was it, who knows? Did he just beat him enough to keep him off and he died? I don't know. I would have a tough time controlling myself. I don't know about, I'm sure Stan would, and almost any father or grandfather would. And in this case, the state is backing off.
Well,
I'm glad to
the
hear
sheriff
it.
is backing off, but the sheriff said the prosecutor can take the facts to a grand jury, and they could still bring an indictment. But I agree with Dave. I don't think anything's going to happen, and I think we're all in agreement now. In Idaho, we're hearing that the towns there are in an all-out bidding war to get gun manufacturers to move to Idaho, saying that the state will protect them from the federal rules as long as they sell guns inside the state. And of course, everyone in Idaho owns 12 guns. So that I would think that Idaho and Montana and maybe Arizona, that you could get small manufacturers that could do one hell of a business and have none of the federal laws apply. And of course, the federal authorities, including holders, saying that won't work. What's happening there, Larry?
Well, the idea that the feds have gone too far is just blossoming across the country. I just got back from Tombstone, where the Forest Service told the city fathers that they could not go up a mountain to repair an aqueduct, and that originates at a spring. Well, they finally were able to get a permit, but the permit specifically said no motorized transport. Well, so you're carrying. I was there on the mountain, and people are carrying their shovels and some things that were heavier than shovels. And I pooped out after the first mile. It's 6,000 feet. This flatlander just wasn't getting any air. But they went on the other mile, and at one point, I'm told that the trail was almost vertical, it wasn't just a gradual ascent. Like many mountains, it gets pretty steep toward the top, and that's where the water happens to be for these springs. And they were able to make the repairs to a certain extent, but they weren't able to do any improvements beyond the repairs. And I think the point's going to come when the people of the town are going to say, Sheriff, deputize us. We're going up there, and if they try to do anything, we'll arrest them. And that, I think, could be what's happening. The town council is working on, may have already done it for all I know, an ordinance that asks the sheriff to do just that, to deputize the people who might be up on the mountain to support the repair crew. And at that point, I think the Forest Service would simply not show up, because there have been other episodes, and we've talked about them, where when the sheriff gets behind you and he says, I'm going to arrest you, FDA, Forest Service, BLM, whatever it might be, all of a sudden they're gone. They just leave you alone, because they know that the sheriff is the top law enforcement authority in his county. He's the only elected cop, and he can arrest a federal agent just as easy as pie.
I think what we should do is give him a blindfold and a sled and just send him back down the mountain.
That could be a fairly perilous undertaking.
Well, see, I'm considerate. I'm giving him a blindfold. All right, and I'll also give him a body condom so it'll be safe. Larry Pratt, thank you so much for all your work. How do folks get your updates?
We are at gunowners.org, and if they will go there to sign up for our alerts, that's the way they can keep informed on things like Fast and Furious and some of these other things that are always going on here in Washington. So gunowners.org.
Larry Pratt, thanks so much. Dave Weinbaum and I will be back in just a moment as we talk to Major General Jerry Curry. Stay tuned, everyone. Do you like to eat? I do. We all run to the store if we're hungry, right? Well, there are times when that doesn't work. And for those times, and it may be for an hour, and it may be for a day, and it may be for a week, who knows God's in charge, you need to have quality food. Alpine Air, that's what this is, quality food. It has extended shelf life, and it tastes great. You should store what you eat and eat what you store. Just go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for the Alpine Air foods. It's incredibly reasonable. It's actually a way to save money. Alpine Air has quality food that's going to be there when you need it. It's always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Alpine Air at cpnlive.com. Click on the icon and protect your family. I am holding in my hand a product. It's called TR10 Supercolloidal Silver. It's a natural antibiotic that works. You know, the reason we use silver to make cutlery, silverware, is because nothing grows on silver. It's the reason they put it in your teeth. It's the reason they use silver instruments to operate on the brain. TR10 is very inexpensive. Just go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for the TR10, and order a quart. It's so inexpensive, it's really silly, but it's invaluable when you have a sore throat, when you have a cold, when you have something you're concerned about in yourself, your child, whether you have to spray it in your eyes or swallow it or put it on your skin, makes no difference. It's totally safe. It has less silver than is the safe level in drinking water, yet it's done in such a way that it does the job. A natural antibiotic, yours, TR10, Supercolloidal Silver, from cpnlive.com. Just click on the icon. Do you like being healthy? I do. In fact, this product, which I've been taking for years now, is absolutely the answer. Now, you may not believe it, but I'm actually 21, plus tax, of course. This product has 146 different healthful nutrients in it, and it's liquid, so it's bioavailable. It tastes great, and it's sugar-free. 1 ounce of Sonic Life each day will help you to maintain and enhance your health. It's the kind of a gift, well, that you'll thank your mom for, your husband for, your wife for, your kids for. Whoever you give it to, they're going to say thank you, and you are going to enjoy the benefits of having all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients your body needs in one very reasonably priced product. Just go to cpnlive.com and everything's right there. You'll be able to read all the ingredients. The price is right there, a flat price delivered to your door anywhere in the United States of America. Sonic Life is a gift, a great gift. Give it to yourself. I do. You have a computer, if you're alive today, which means you have a hard drive, which means it's going to break down. Mosey, the backup people, for thousands, for Stan, for thousands of people, for tens of thousands of people, is simply common sense. You go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and sign up. It's just a few dollars a month. Let me tell you something. We had a break-in. They stole our whole computer. You know what? When they take the computer, you can't recover anything, but we had Mosey. We had the backup. We were able to restore everything simply by buying another computer. cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and give yourself common sense, peace of mind, great value, the best thing you've ever done. Sooner or later, it's going to be Mosey, the backup people.